Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our biannual member marathon. This is an opportunity for LSO to showcase some of the newer members that have joined the LSO and life sciences community here, and we have a powerhouse of presenters today. Before I get to an introduction of the speakers, I just wanted to acknowledge the land that we are on today. We recognize the land we're standing on is on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. I also acknowledge that Ontario is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with the multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. At this time, I wanted to remind all of those members that are on line today that it is membership renewal time, everybody's favorite time of the year. You'll be receiving an email with all of the information on the renewed investment, and we look forward to continuing our relationship with you into 2023 and beyond. I just wanted to take this opportunity to remind people online, if you have any questions for any one of our speakers, please submit your questions in the Q&A. Just to give you a heads up, we will be taking Q&A after each introduction. And with that, I'm a strong believer in nobody tells their story better than them. I will kick things off with our first speaker, Carla Spina, CEO of Noa Therapeutics Inc.
Thank you very much to Life Science Ontario for this opportunity to present today. I'm Carla Spina, CEO and co-founder of Noa Therapeutics, and I'm here today with my Chief Scientific Officer and co-founder, Serena Mandela, to present to you Noa Therapeutics. At Noa, we are redefining the treatment for inflammatory skin diseases. With our novel multimodal therapeutics, we are here to break the chronic cycle of failures for the treatment of inflammatory skin disease. Because let me introduce you to David. David's favorite color is blue. He loves playing basketball. And on the weekends, his favorite thing to do is to play hockey with his dad. But David has atopic dermatitis. And for the last and only 8 years of his life, David has been on 10 topical steroids, 2 topical antibiotics, multiple oral antibiotics, oral steroids, non-steroidal cream reps, medicated wound reps, and unfortunately, that is just what his mom can remember. And for the nearly 16 million patients living in atopic dermatitis in the US today, for 11 million of those, or 70%, with mild to moderate atopic dermatitis, the first-line treatment is and has been for the last 40 years topical corticosteroids. However, inflammatory diseases are complex, where trial and error treatments result in chronic cycles of failures and frustrations, leaving 89% of patients dissatisfied with the current therapeutic options available. This is large in part due to the underlying heterogeneity of the disease itself, where disease factors that contribute to the pathogenesis of atopic dermatitis include immune dysregulation, or upregulation of inflammatory cytokines, microbial imbalance, leading to increased risk of infection and propagation of the inflammatory response in conjunction with barrier dysfunction, or impaired terminal differentiation, reducing the skin's inherent barrier function. Where the current approaches address these individual disease factors in isolation, they may be first-line treatment. However, they result in serious unwanted side effects, and subsequently, due to their focused application, they have limited efficacy and limited population applications.
And this is where we stepped in. Noa is pioneering the development of multimodal therapeutics to wholly address the complexity of an inflammatory skin disease to open untapped market opportunities. Our lead ID, Noa 101, is a singular drug compound with the potential to resolve inflammation, protect against antimicrobial efficacy, and restore the barrier dysfunction. Noa 101's therapeutic approach is three-pronged. Noa's predecessor technology has been demonstrated to resolve inflammation as demonstrated by a reduction in neutrophils and a murine post-injury response in vivo. Now, neutrophils are immune cells, which are known to drive itch, which is a significant quality of life indicator in atopic dermatitis patients. Noa's predecessor technology has also been demonstrated to restore the barrier function of skin, as observed by an increase in terminally differentiated proteins. What we can see here is mouse skin that has been treated with Noa has full resolution of that red layer, which is stained for loricrin, a terminally differentiated keratinocyte protein. And finally, Noa 101 has been demonstrated to have broad spectrum antimicrobial efficacy, even at sublethal concentrations against pathogenic strains associated with atopic dermatitis, including methicillin-resistant Staph aureus. Noa 101's functionality to resolve, heal, and protect puts us at an advantage over our competitors. Current competitors on the market or in development are all targeting one or maybe two of these disease targets, with the main focus being inflammatory resolution. Noa 101's ability to resolve inflammation, restore the barrier function, and protect against antimicrobial infection makes us a serious threat to all competitors currently in development or on the market.
This unique value proposition will put us in the unique position to address mild to moderate treatment of atopic dermatitis as our first use case. We estimate nearly 19% penetration within 5 years of regulatory approval on the market to capture nearly $3 billion for our first use case alone. Leveraging the discrete therapeutic targets of our active ingredients, we see a long-term pipeline for therapeutic indications, both dermatological and systemic, including psoriasis, vitiligo, hyperpigmentation, chloracne, gastrointestinal, and cardiovascular applications. With the unmet needs in the marketplace being blatantly obvious and patients asking for new technologies to be brought to market, there has been a lot of activity in the dermatological space, both for acquisitions and licenses within the last 5 years. At Noa, we see an opportunity for out-license opportunities by 2026 and acquisition opportunities by 2028 for 10 to 20 times return on investment. We are currently seeking $1.5 million in our pre-seed round on a convertible note with a 15% discount and $7.5 million cap to reach key milestones identified through discussions with both collaborative potential strategic partners as well as a subsequent round of investors for this pipeline, with key inflections involving atopic dermatitis model validation of our lead drug compound in conjunction with GLP safety preliminary data in vitro. The majority of the pre-seed funds will be utilized to not only ensure a longitudinal intellectual property pathway, but also to support in vitro validation and GMP manufacture of our lead ID. At Noa, we are led by a team with more than 75 years of cumulative experience in both discovery, clinical phase study, as well as commercialization, discrete to skin and wound therapeutics, and drug device combination products. We are supported by a growing network of advisors and supporters with discrete experience in pharmaceutical strategy, regulatory strategy, translational science, epithelial pathophysiology, investment strategy, as well as intellectual property. We also have a growing network of non-dilutive funding supporters where to date, after only 5 months since incorporation, we have raised more than $250,000 in non-dilutive funding. Because at Noa, it is our mission to redefine the treatment for inflammatory skin disease. With our novel multimodal therapeutics, we are seeking to deliver a meaningful, multidimensional solution to patients living with this complicated disease, to treat those patients beyond the current market or within the current market and beyond. We invite you to join us on this journey, where we are currently raising $1.5 million to achieve in vivo validation by 2023, followed by phase 1 readiness by 2024 with $6 million in seed funding. Thank you very much.
Carol and Serena, thank you so much for that presentation. You've really established an incredible footprint here in life sciences, especially over the last few months, having just kicked things off earlier this year. We do have a question from the audience. Jamie Dossett Mercer would like to know any prevalence numbers on hospitalization of children or adults because of bacterial breach of the skin barrier. And a second question, cost to healthcare system.
In terms of the numbers, so the prevalence in children, pediatric patient populations, the prevalence is about 5 to 10%. And there is about 77% of patients that have been identified to have colonization by Staphylococcus aureus, with about 18% associated with MRSA infections. The prevalence to the cost of care is actually quite challenging to understand or to deconvolute for the infected populations. But in rural and urban or rural areas and remote regions, it has become identified as a serious challenge. One of the advantages that we see discreetly from our technologies is the ability to address these infections without prevalence of resistance. A lot of our strategies have been aligned with the antimicrobial stewardship programs through CARB-X, BARDA, CDC, and the WHO. So we see it as being a discrete advantage to be able to address these complications. Although the costs are not discretely defined, we do understand that they are a heavy burden on the healthcare system.
Thank you for that. I think we've got another one. Is there any application for patients suffering from bed sores?
In terms of the discrete application, so our focus is discretely on atopic dermatitis as a skin condition. The three combined attributes of our therapeutics are extremely well suited to barrier resolution. The technologies will be discretely utilized for inflammatory skin diseases where there is no breached skin barrier. So at this moment, we're not exploring that option.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Carla. And I invite everybody to continue to populate the Q&A for any one of our presenters tonight. We will take a few more questions at the end of all of the presentations, but at this point, I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you to our next speaker, who is Stephen Hansen, is the Business Development Director for Spiderwort Inc. And Stephen, I'm going to hand things over to you.
Great, thanks, Andy. Hopefully you can see my screen now. Maybe you can see my spinning ball of death as it loads. There we go. So thanks to LSO. Thanks for the opportunity to introduce our company to the rest of the ecosystem in Ontario. So Spiderwort, we are a 7-year-old company based in Ottawa, Ontario. So our mission is to revolutionize how the paradigm of biomaterials and how biomaterials are used in innovative medicines. So our team, so we're led by CEO Charles Coudier, who is, I believe, on the webinar today. And it's based on technology that was originally identified in the lab of Andrew Pelling at the University of Ottawa. And he's also described this in 2 TED Talks that I assume everybody's going to go Google after the webinar today. The first on turning an apple slice into a human ear, and then the second TED Talk that is related to one of the technologies I'm going to briefly touch on. So what is that technology? So at Spiderwort, we identify structures of cellulose found in the plant kingdom and repurpose them as biomaterials for mammalian tissues to regrow. So it's about the purification, modification, and the fabrication of these structures. So as you can imagine, there are many different possible structures that are out there in the plant kingdom, and we match those structures or composites of those structures to whichever structure of an extracellular matrix of the tissue that we're looking to regenerate. The key attributes of this type of biomaterial technology, as you can imagine, there's abundant source material. If you look around, there's plants everywhere. It's immunologically inert, so cellulose materials can be implanted into humans without causing that foreign body reaction that other materials can lead to. And then one key differentiator between this type of biomaterial and others that are used is that it's non-resorbable. So absent the enzyme to break this down, to break down cellulose, these materials will be long lasting, and this can lead to some unique capabilities in terms of long lasting structural support. Of course, we lost one of my pictures, sorry. The different structures and the different celluloses that we can isolate, we can generate a versatility of different formulations of the material. So we can easily generate powders or gels or foams or even thin sheets. And each of these can have different applications in the biomedical world. So what are we doing with this platform technology? So we've identified two lead applications, which I'll briefly touch on today. So the first is CelluBridge for spinal cord injury repair. And the second is CelluJuve, which we are using for soft tissue augmentation, primarily as a dermal filler. So in the case of CelluJuve, we're developing this as a cosmetic, aesthetic, long-lasting dermal filler. So the dermal filler industry is right now dominated by hyaluronic acid based therapeutics, where innovation in the field stems from the ability to have different cross-linkers to get slightly different longevity of all of those fillers. And as you can imagine, this is dominated by large pharmaceutical companies, namely Allergan, now part of AbbVie, in the market with the Juvederm line. Where we seek to disrupt part of this market is in producing this long-lasting filler, where we're not worried about stretching from 6 months to 8 months in longevity, but we're going to go beyond that in terms of years with our non-resorbable or long-lasting cellulose-based materials. And of course, all of the potential adverse events from having to do repeated injections, we will then mitigate by having this long-lasting filler. In the case of CelluBridge, so I purposely led with CelluJuve instead of CelluBridge because sometimes solving big medical problems and then going to an aesthetic application is a bit of a letdown. CelluBridge here, as I mentioned, was the topic of the second TED Talk that Andrew Pelling produced a couple of years ago, where we use cellulose structures to repair spinal cord injuries immediately after the injury occurs. So spinal cord injury remains an unmet medical need with approximately 19,000 cases occurring in North America each year. And that's on top of the existing 250,000 people who are living with spinal cord injuries. So how does our material, or how does CelluBridge actually work? So CelluBridge contains a different cellulose microstructure that provides a scaffold for regenerating axons to cross the point of the injury in the cord. And this enables, at least in rodent models, so if you go Google the TED Talk from Andrew Pelling, you can see some of the original prototype work where spinal cords of rats can be cut and then our material inserted, and then 10 weeks later, rats are then walking again. So that initial data prompted a more development into refining what that material actually looks like, what the different features and structures of the CelluBridge need to be. This allowed us to apply and be granted a breakthrough device designation from the FDA, which provides us interactive, rapid discussions with the agency so that we can pre-clear what it is that we need to do for the remainder of the preclinical development path, and then eventually what that initial clinical study might look like. So where are we in all of this? And I recognize this is an oversimplified attempt at a linear timeline of a series of non-linear events in the development of a biomaterial that I'm trying to force all onto the same timeline. In both cases, as a medical device company, our materials, one of the key inflection points for valuation and for de-risking is the definitive biocompatibility. So we are right up there, the equivalent of a phase 1 study on the drug side, where we're going to be proving safety in the ISO 10993 battery of tests. So in both the case of CelluJuve and CelluBridge, that is where we are, and that it's sort of that last step before we can get into that those clinical studies in patients or healthy subjects. In addition to SoluBridge and SoluJuve, we recognize that as a platform technology, there's many other opportunities where the features of a long-lasting inert material would be beneficial. So we are actively looking at some of these within the company, but also within different partnerships, but are happy to discuss co-development with both commercial and other academic labs on developing some of those other applications. You can imagine in the orthopedic space for bone or in other types of soft tissue regeneration. So specifically, these are some of the areas where we are looking for partnerships. So Spiderwort has grown to 23 people, so we're a full team, but as managing a platform is a challenging choice of which applications get prioritized and which ones can we do in-house versus developing with others. So we are interested in connecting with other groups and companies that have that need where there might be a fit for a long-lasting biomaterial made of cellulose. So with that, I'd be happy to take some questions from the rest of the audience.
Thanks, Stephen. I've had the opportunity to meet both you and Charles this past year, and I've just been impressed with, everything that you've been able to accomplish in such a short time. The first question from our audience is, does the collagen implantable platform have drug delivery properties? Is there potential for a hybrid device drug application accelerating tissue regeneration beyond providing scaffolding?
So short answer is yes. So we do have, the current SoluJuve and SoluBridge iterations that exist right now are strictly material. So they don't contain any drugs or pharmaceutical agents or any other cells. There absolutely is the possibility of including those elements in the SoluBridge 2.0 or 3.0 as we move forward. Especially in the case of spinal cord injury, we see that the eventual best product is one that would have all three of those features, that would be the material that provides that scaffold for the regenerating axons, that would have the ability to release some of those, choose your favorite drug to use in that scenario. That's a de-repression of the growth, and neural stem cells. And that this combination product is probably the one that would provide the most efficacy. For simplicity's sake, to just stay on the medical device side and not have to worry about the complexity of a combination product initially, we are pursuing initially just this material, but absolutely that's in our future, the combinations. I would also say that in-house we do have cellulose chemistry experts. And so we are working to functionalize the material for various applications, whether it's drug delivery or specific binding of specific tissue types, et cetera.
That's great. The next question we have is, how elastic are these cellulose-based materials? Is it as elastic as cartilage, and can you bend it like normal skin?
Yeah, so I guess I would say it's very versatile. So we can play around with the biomechanical properties, and I'll delve a little bit outside of my area of expertise. I don't understand all of the rheology graphs that the R&D team shows me, but I know that we can make a wide range of properties, whether from compressive force or go into the weeds too much on the G0 and G prime, but yes, we could make it so that it is as elastic as I think it was skin was the question there.
No, that's incredible in terms of the science behind it, and I like your point there. I often tell people that I don't really need to understand a lot of the scientific stuff, mainly because we have a scientist who leads the LSO. So with that, I wanted to thank you, but I wanted to invite people to continue to populate the Q&A for any potential opportunities at the end of this presentation. Thank you, Stephen. And at this point, we'll move into our third and final presentation by Neil Northrup, who is the executive sponsor of Kelly Services. And Neil, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Andy, thank you for the handoff. We're going to get the slide deck teed up here. Brian, were you gonna do that, or did you need me to? There we go. Well, thank you guys. We're super excited to be here today. When Andy and I connected a couple months ago, it felt right. We had a really long conversation. There was alignment in terms of LSO, Kelly, for us and for Andy. It's all about networks. It's all about partnerships. You know, we have a very big base in Canada today, but we haven't taken the dive with LSO up until now. So we're excited to be here, excited to present a little bit really about what we do. Let's see if this, let me get to the next slide here. For those of you that are not familiar, we are Kelly Science and Clinical. So we are the carve out science division of what everybody knows as Kelly Services, big global company. Fun fact, we're actually the 27th most recognizable logo in the world. So that comes with great company. We're certainly not an Amazon, and we're certainly not an Apple, but we're certainly up there in at 27. So what we're going to do today, we're going to run through a couple slides. I wanted to make a quick introduction of the team. Obviously myself, Neil, I'm the executive sponsor. I'm really kind of the conduit to really our operation up in Canada, Pacific Northwest for the US, and also the North Central. So I'll introduce Felisa Palecki. She's one of our science territory consultants. Charlene Harris, she's also a science territory consultant. And then Nini Lay. Nini sits here in Minneapolis with me, so we're kind of the go-between between the US and Canada. So Felisa, I'll turn it over to you. You can say hi, and we can dive right in.
Perfect. Thanks, Neil, for the intro. Again, my name is Felisa, and I'm one of the scientific consultants here for across Canada. I actually am located on the western side here in Calgary, Alberta, but supporting, again, business all across. As Neil has mentioned, Kelly has been around for quite some time, 75 years to be exact, and growing. We are a global firm. Obviously, in Canada, within Canada, we have multiple sites located across Canada with technical and local recruiters located across the country. And what makes Kelly unique is that we understand your industry because it's our industry. So not only does our team come from a scientific background where we all have scientific degrees, same with our recruiters, we also have worked in this space for numerous years, talking to qualified talent in these areas, and in learning about these businesses and the clients and employers that we're working with. We understand, what their, hurdles are, any challenges that they're seeing, any, what projects that are coming down the pipeline, what kind of trends and projections for growth are coming along their business. And with that, obviously, we've worked with numerous biotech companies, pharmaceuticals, medical device, cannabis, etc. Anything required or anyone requiring any scientific support and partnership. With that, obviously, a large pool of our talent has relayed in numerous areas such as clinical operations, R&D, laboratory type settings, medical device, quality control, quality assurance. Obviously, our talent landscape is quite vast as we worked with numerous types of companies, throughout Canada, whether they are mostly in BC, is typically we're finding a lot of business out here in Western Canada and Alberta, to Quebec and Ontario are one of our largest hubs in terms of where we're seeing a lot of business. That being said, obviously we've worked on roles, in Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, those type of areas as well. We've seen this type of business expand all across, and our recruiters were able to support essentially over the last several years in this space and with this talent. In terms of where we are in terms of being a staffing supplier for Canada, over the last 15 years, we've specialized our technical team to focus just on this space, and having our recruiters just designated in these areas. They have worked in this space for 15 years plus, only chatting with professional scientific personnel and looking for talent and trying to identify the perfect places that they can associate themselves with. In terms of our clients, obviously, in those 15 years as well, we've tried to understand your business, identify areas for growth, try to identify areas where we can, work with your budget costs and see where we can allocate headcount in the appropriate areas and where we can offer various solutions for these areas. And in terms of our performance, obviously, when it comes to the very beginning of our process, typically what we like to do is after we get a job description or receive an order and needing essentially support for any kind of challenge that the organization is finding, it takes us about 24 hours to set up a meeting with our technical recruiters and with your hiring managers and those involved in the need itself. And from that time frame, after we have these technical conversations with our recruiters to identify, what areas to identify in a job description, what essentially are the highlights, anything in between the lines that we are not seeing, anything about the culture, the environment, speaking to the skill set, speaking to the education of the candidate, and clarifying all those requirements. From that point, our recruiters would, kind of go to the drawing board, look at the different solutions that we have to find these candidates, whether it be posting it on our webpage, going in through LinkedIn, Indeed, looking through our network, our database that we've developed over the last 15 years and scientific experts, and kind of looking through that to find qualified candidates. Typically within that time frame, we've seen submittals within 2 to 5 business days. So from at that point, you'll see a qualified candidate. We'll submit them over with a little blurb about, a summary about the highlights of why we felt that this was a qualified candidate for the position of need. And from there, we try to align, obviously, the interviews. And within 10 days, assuming this process is streamlined and we're able to set up interviews, with the employers and the candidates in a timely fashion, we can typically get this process done within 10 days overall, from the process start to finish. What we have noticed, obviously, with our hiring managers and with our candidate experience, they are finding that they are very happy working with us, obviously, because they're working with people who have lived in the industry at one point, understand the lingo. We're experts in this industry because we talk day in, day out with people in the space. And we're also finding that our clients are very happy with the quality of the candidates that come forward, because we make sure we are looking at, the different types of fit of this individual coming in, whether it's, the cultural fit, the skill set, the experiences, the education, or the environment, et cetera. In those conversations before we send any candidates over, we ensure that they are qualified and wanting to make that, having that interest to work with employers like yourself. And with that, obviously, the candidates that do accept these offers, it is a very competitive market. As some of you might know, lots of opportunity there for candidates. So we're seeing a lot of opportunities out there, but for the most part, from what we have to offer, a lot of candidates and employers are very happy working with us in terms of the successes we are able to provide on both sides of the business. And I think that's it on that side.
All right. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Nini Lay, and I am one of the scientific consultants from Kelly with you today. It's really a pleasure to be here and to be a part of LSO's initiative. I really look forward to connecting with you all. And as Felisa briefly mentioned, one of the valuable things about Kelly is that we operate from an experts hiring experts model, which means that whether our partners are looking for the most basic services like recruiting, scaling up to specialized project support, the Kelly professionals that have their hands in this work come from a science background. We're educated in the sciences, 1 in 5 recruiters holding multiple or advanced degrees. In fact, one of the recruiters I work closely with has a doctorate degree, and he just finds the best in class talent. Because we have the relevant background, the industry knowledge and resources, we know what skill sets to look for. We're able to advise our clients impactfully and care for our talent better. Being able to put ourselves in both our client's shoes and our talent shoes is really what sets us apart in the industry.
Thanks, Nini. I like this slide. It's probably my most favorite slide. This is typically a slide that when I'm on impromptu meetings with clients, they ask us about Kelly. This slide really says it all. So when you think about the pandemic, right, things changed during the pandemic. We always say that the talent got smarter. We certainly felt it in Canada. We still feel it now in the US. So the continuum of services, what is this, right? So Kelly, 75 years old, right? Kelly started what people know as staffing, but I think this slide really outlines, I would say, the depth of what we do as a whole. We're not just a true staffing company. So if you look in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see the contingent contract staffing. That's your temp to hire. The direct placement, that's what people really refer to as just staff aug services, right? It's finding the right talent for the specific skill set. As you move up, you're going to see the project services, on-site management, payroll services, more options there. The project services is really becoming hotter and hotter now, really because people want to be a full-time employee, but the clients do not want to direct hire this person in. So really we offer kind of a different solution than your normal staff aug, where we can bring in a talent, they're a full-time Kelly employee, but they can be converted to your facility, or you guys can bring them on at any point through a conversion. So again, a little bit different than your contract staffing. And then as you move up, you start talking about the RPO, the BPO, and the FSP. This is really key for a lot of companies that have a deep pipeline. So we offer really kind of a subset of really higher end talent that's dedicated to specific assets. So if you guys have a specific project that you're working on, looking for a specific result, which requires very specific talent, we have the team to do that. We're partnered with many of the big pharmaceuticals in the US and Canada. I called this out earlier, but our science division was actually born out of J&J 25 years ago through a very small FSP, and that was really the birth of our science division. So we do everything upstream, downstream. There's nothing that we can't do. For us, it's really just understanding, what's your operating reality? What is it really like to be there? What challenges you guys are having? And then the paramount with the talent journey, right? It's all about the talent. If we don't have good talent, you're not making good hires, which are, you guys are going to typically feel on the back end. So at some point, we'd love to reach out to all you guys, just have a conversation, just to learn more really about what you guys are doing. We're not hunting for business at this point. We're really just trying to understand, how we can integrate with all the LSO members. So we're very thankful for the time today. Charlene, you want to close us out?
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Charlene. I'm actually based in Ontario, in Mississauga. Thank you everyone at LSO for listening to our presentation today. Feel free to reach out or be on the lookout for communication on our end from any one of us. And we look forward to providing support and guidance for you guys.
Well, Neil, team, thank you so much. And Neil, I really love that tagline. Now, there's nothing you can't do. So hopefully a lot of our members will reach out to you. And, it's been a lively presentation so far. A couple of questions from the audience. First from Jay Levine. Does Kelly recruit for science-related professional services as in architecture, engineering, laboratory design?
We do. So if you think about Kelly services, the big global, we have carve-outs of IT division, engineering division. We do also a P&I, which is kind of your professional industrial. Kelly also from the US perspective, Teachers on Call, it's actually the biggest educational contract pool for education in the entire country. So the answer is yes, we can do it. Feel free to have him reach out to us. We'll connect the dots and get him in touch with the right people. Great.
Well, here's one for you. One of our attendees would like to know if Kelly has a program for students for summer employment or recent graduates to get experience in their field.
We do. We still have our intern program. It's been running for, I think, over 12 years now. There was a period for, I think, 2 years that it stopped, and it's been rebooted back up. So we're always looking to partner with universities, new grads. we'd love to have a conversation and really put this person, if they're looking for an opportunity in a lab or engineering experience or IT, we can certainly connect those dots and bridge that gap for the individual. No questions asked.
Neil, thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. This was fantastic. At this point, we're just going to take a couple more questions from the audience for any one of our speakers. And I think this one is more so for Stephen, in terms of any thought to look at cellulose-based biomaterial for non-pharma applications, such as food science, for example, as a scaffold for lab-cultivated alternative meat. You wanted to handle that one, Stephen.
Yeah, I was typing out an answer, but this is easier to do it live. I like it. So yes, absolutely. So I mentioned all of the key benefits of the material being, long-lasting, non-degradable, and abundant source material, et cetera. In the case of the scaffold in the cell-based meat industry, edible would be another feature that would be key for this type of scaffold. So within Spiderwort, we have a division called Whiteboard Foods that is developing this technology for the cultivated, the cellular agricultural space. We try not to talk about it in some of the life science or biomed context, because it tends to occupy all of the air in the room, and everyone wants to talk about, are you the next Impossible Foods or Beyond Meat? So Whiteboard Foods is a semi-finalist in the X Prize Feed the Next Billion competition, where we are making our lead product there is a salmon fillet with that has salmon cells in it that does not involve catching salmon. We have some other products as well that are in the mix. So we are at we'll be going to the semi-final tasting competition or taste testing in Abu Dhabi in a couple months, and hope to remain as one of the finalists in that competition.
That's great. Thanks, Stephen. Neil, I think this one's over to your team in terms of, is Kelly Services open for partnership to support IT company for serving their client in pharma, CRO, or pharmacovigilance clinical trial space?
Yeah, we do. We actually do a lot within that space today. So, we kind of take the approach on, you look at 75 years, right? It's a long time. We do not sell. We don't have a sales approach. We have more of I would say, a consultant approach around like, hey, we're big with case studies, right? This has worked in the past for our clients. This was the path to success, right? So absolutely, whoever the question came from, I'd be happy to have the conversation with them and kind of outline what they're looking for, and we'll certainly point these people in the right direction. No questions asked.
Awesome. And I think I'll wrap up our Q&A and throw one to Carla. Carla, you and I and Serena have had many conversations this past year about some of the lessons learned and some of the things that you've gone through as entrepreneurs. I'm just wondering, and I'm relaying this to an event I'm here in Kingston at Queen's University, where there's a cohort of entrepreneurs about to enter the field. I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the importance of mentorship and leaning on those mentors to help you be successful.
That's my favorite topic. So we obviously have identified our internal shortcomings and rounded out our team with a really strategic selection of mentors for us and advisors, because we know that we cannot do it all. I was just talking with the Ontario Centres of Innovation yesterday, and it does take a village to start, especially a biotech company. Understanding exactly where our strong points are, leaning on them, but then also being able to establish a network of mentors and advisors who have not only the knowledge, but also the key connections. For us, our longitudinal development pathway will be heavily leaning on the advisors that we have and their extended networks, not only for connections with strategic partners and investors, but also obviously to facilitate a lot of the exit points that we are interested in. So I can't speak enough, about establishing yourself mentors and advisors, and hopefully it's something that we can establish, and obviously LSO is very poignant in establishing, just being able to provide a system to meet the mentors that you can secure for advancing your own companies or initiatives.
Carla, thank you for that. Oh, so go ahead, Serena.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I just wanted to echo that. I think the entrepreneurship journey is a very humbling journey. And I think a lot of technical founders that are coming from academia tend to think they know it all. And yeah, I would maybe just go and remind people that you don't know what you don't know, and be open to learning and be open to mentors and people telling you or teaching you how to be better.
Thank you both for that. And thank all of our presenters today. I think just before I hand things over to our president and CEO, Jason Field, to take us out, I think these member marathons allow us an opportunity to really amplify what LSO is in our community. We are technically an industry association, but as you can tell, we represent more than just industry, also service providers, colleges, universities, and the like. The two things we do really well is amplify our member messages to their intended audience, whether that be government, industry, or academia, as well as act as agents of connectivity. So I invite you to reach out to any one of our presenters today with additional questions, but also if there's anyone we can connect you to within the ecosystem, please don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us here at LSO. And with that, my thanks to all of you, and I'm going to hand things over to Jason Field to take us out.
Well, thank you, Andy. Great job moderating today's session. Thank you for leading that. And thank you to all of our speakers again. That was a fabulous member marathon. We appreciate you taking the time to share your insights, your experiences, your offerings from Noa to Kelly to Spiderwort. Thank you again. Few housekeeping notes and upcoming events. So our breakfast series is going to continue in January. On January 19th, we're going to be talking about science, gaming, and virtual reality. It's going to be a hybrid event, so we're going to try to get back in person if we can. It's going to be hosted at the offices of RSM on King Street, but we will have a hybrid option available for those of you that can't join us in person. In February, we're going to be talking about industry academic partnerships and why they're important. We will be hosting that very appropriately at the University of Toronto downtown campus. And finally, I'd like to thank all of our sponsors, our corporate sponsors, our platinum sponsors shown here, our gold sponsors, and our silver sponsors. We really couldn't host events like this without the support throughout the year of these corporate sponsors. So thank you to all of them. And thank you for attending our last breakfast of 2022. We're looking forward to engaging with all of you in the new year. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season and stay safe today. Buckle down for the storm for those of you here in Ontario. And we look forward to seeing you again real soon. Take care, everyone.